Hey there, and welcome to Light Novel Sound, where I bring stories to life through voice. Today, we'll embark on a journey into the world of Astral Pet Store by Ancient She. And if you'd like to read along, you can find the original novel at lightnovelworld.co. So, what's not to love about transmigrating into a world full of pets? There are mighty creatures of all shapes and sizes, some cuddly, some fierce, and some, both. And I've even got my own pet store to run. Sounds great, right? Well, not exactly. My younger sister can't stand me. I've got zero talent for handling astral pets. And don't even get me started on the bizarre system I'm stuck with. But hey, it wouldn't be a proper transmigration without a few ridiculous challenges, right? Before we jump in, a huge thank you to Ancient She for creating this incredible story. And if you enjoy the audiobook, please like, subscribe, and leave a comment. It really helps support the channel and keeps these stories alive in the YouTube world. Alright, let's dive into Astral Pet Store. Chapter 471, Beast King. The system, Fierce Fire Ape detected. Calculating selling price, the Fierce Fire Ape will be sold at 0.59 million energy points. Su Ping? Did the system just say 0.59 million energy points? I spent 1 million and the ape would be sold at 0.59 million? That is to say, I practically lost 0.31 million. What the? Hey, are you sure about that? This is a beast at the peak of the titled rank. How can its price be at 0.59 million energy points? That means the price is less than 100 million astral coins. That is outrageous. Su Ping couldn't help but protest. A customer could spend 59 million astral coins and get a beast at the peak of the titled rank from his store. He was practically giving the beast away. The figure is calculated according to the beast's combat strength, aptitude, bloodline, etc. That is the price of the beast in this store. The host shall not swear inwardly. First warning. The system sounded quite inhumane. Su Ping moved his lips. The host shall not swear. Second warning. The system sounded more serious. Su Ping stopped venting his anger. System, you are doing charity work, do you know that? Any other store would have sold the beast for at least several hundred million. Your price is so much lower than the market value. The host shall not compare this store to the other puny stores out there. Those store owners always consider private gains. They are only running stores to make money as the middleman. But the system's price is fair and based on a reasonable evaluation of the beasts. The prices of all the beasts are up to the system's standard. Lousy excuses. Keep going. The host is advised to listen to reason. Do not cross the line. To hell with thou. No more warning. Punishment executed. There was a sudden, weird cry in the room. A few minutes later, the system asked again, does the host have any other questions about the pricing? No. Is the price reasonable? Yes. Good. The system is glad that the host can look at the big picture now. Sure I do. There was this saying. If life FK, you, FCK back. If you couldn't FCK life, enjoy it. Feeling low, Su Ping darted a glance at the fierce fire ape and sent it to the storage space. A swirl came out from nowhere and sucked the fierce fire ape in, then the swirl gradually shrank and disappeared. In the meantime, Su Ping saw a cute profile photo of the fierce fire ape showing up in the system's shop. What an adorable little thing. It was so adorable that Su Ping wanted to pinch it to death. Su Ping shook his head and refocused his mind on the pool. When he gazed at the pool was gazing back at him, for his energy points. Without hesitation, Su Ping did another try. One setback would not crush him. It would take 2 setbacks to crush him. Confirm. Yes. -1 million energy points. The strange glow over the incubation pool appeared again. The glow was orange in color. It first appeared over the edge and the ancient grains began to move about once more. Many beams of light gathered at the bottom of the pool. A figure appeared as the light became brighter and brighter. After that, all the beams of light vanished completely. Following that, a surge of powerful energy was spilled out. Su Ping saw that a big and fierce guy was in the pool. Upon a closer look, Su Ping pulled a long face. Again, not a beast king. Again, a beast at the 9th rank and an adult one at that. It was also at the peak of the 9th rank, but it was evidently not going to help Su Ping make money. Congratulations. Abyss Spirit Feeder from the End Era. Good for me. Su Ping asked, what is the price? The Abyss Spirit Feeder is detected to be below average. The price is 0.65 million. Why was he not surprised? He was losing money again. Su Ping did some calculations. 2 tries and he lost over 700,000 energy points. What the heck? One more time, Su Ping bit his teeth. He initiated the process without hesitation. Accuracy and speed. Bad luck would never be able to catch up with him as long as he was fast enough. -1 million energy points. Whoosh! The pool once again shined brightly, mysterious and complicated patterns flew, and the energy was quickly gathered. After a while, a huge creeping figure appeared. A wild and powerful aura oozed out from its body, deep and terrible. Su Ping's eyes glowed. This is it. As the light dispersed, Su Ping had a clear view of the beast. The monster was like a giant crocodile, but its shell was like cyan dragon scales. Its pointed crocodile mouth, full of protruding teeth, looked extremely hideous and terrifying. It wasn't difficult to imagine how painful it would be if one were bitten by this mouth. There was a sharp blade at the tip of its tail, with sharp scales on both sides. Congratulations for getting a Swamp War crocodile from the End Era. This time, the system's voice didn't sound as obnoxious. Beast King. This one must be a Beast King. The disappointing thing was that judging by its looks, it was one that had reached adulthood. Su Ping had no authorization to take a Beast King to the cultivation world yet. If he did, the Beast King's possible death in the cultivation site would be irreversible. Let's look at its price, Su Ping said. He wasn't planning on selling it, but he still was interested in the price. He assumed that no store in the entire subcontinent district could afford to sell a Beast King. Detecting. The price is 2.13 million energy points. Su Ping was not sure whether to cry or smile. The happy thing was that selling the Beast King could make up for his previous losses. The sad thing was that a Beast King would only be sold at 200 million astral coins. Su Ping was speechless. How unlucky do I have to be to not even have one infant beast? Su Ping shook his head. He no longer wanted to try his luck. He would save the rest of the energy points in case the system's shop could come up with something good. He would use energy points then. The incubation pool was like a demon that would swallow up all of his energy points. Show me the information of the Beast King, Su Ping said in his mind. Since the Beast King came from the store, he had access to the most comprehensive range of information. Swamp War Crocodile, Beast King. Property, Demon Family. Rank, later stage of the Ocean State. Combat Strength, 19.5. Aptitude, Poor. Abilities mastered, Swamp Realm, Brutal Impact, Tearing Bite, Crocodile Strike, Demon Soul Suppression. Talent, none. Just an average Beast King, heh? Su Ping shook his head. He wasn't surprised that the Beast King's aptitude was rated as poor. The combat strength of 19.5 was a little bit higher than that of the little skeleton. Su Ping could enlighten the little skeleton and the dark dragon hound with the enlightening guide. By then, he believed that their combat strengths would see another increase. This guy is not of much use to me. Should I sell it? Su Ping wondered. The Swamp War Crocodile was a Beast King that had reached adulthood, but the strongest pets he could establish a contract with were those of the 9th rank. He could have made the Swamp War Crocodile his pet if it were an infant. But an adult one would crush his spirit. As for making the beast guard the store for him, he didn't need it since the friendly girl Joanna was around. Besides, no one had the courage to create trouble there. It's indeed useless. The little skeleton and my other pets will be much better than this swamp war crocodile by the time I can sign a contract with the Beast King. Su Ping felt he was in a pickle. The third time trying the pool didn't make him lose money, but at the same time, he didn't think he had gotten anything out of it. If I have to sell it, I have to find someone familiar so that he or she will owe me one, Su Ping said to himself. Those who could have a Beast King as a pet would have to be at least of the titled rank. He knew a lot of titled battle pet warriors and he had killed a lot of them. He could barely find any titled battle pet warriors that he was close with. Not even barely. He couldn't find one. At that thought, Su Ping realized that he wasn't a popular guy. Never mind. Put it away. Su Ping shook his head. He put the swamp war crocodile in the storage space and left the room. He closed the door, feeling that he was keeping a demon at bay. If he couldn't control himself, he would have used up all the energy points he had saved. That pool was too enticing. Heaven and hell were only within a flash of thought. He went back to the storefront. Zhong Lingtong and Tang Ruyan were chatting. He didn't interrupt the girls. Su Ping went to the test room to browse through the system's shop. A couple of new products were provided. Products that he didn't know, did not need, or that were completely useless. Su Ping began to refresh the page. Come, skill book, Su Ping prayed. He refreshed the page 3 times, bought 2 advanced beast-catching rings, and a material that could help pets of the fire family have a better understanding of their power. Many things could help a pet increase its power of understanding power. For instance, the nursing pen. However, there was no upper limit to one's understanding of power. The higher the understanding power was, the more skills the pets would learn. The pets with high understanding power could even pick up a talent skill by themselves. Slave contract. He still saw no skill book, either for pet training or for battle pet warriors. The last time he refreshed the store, only a dark purple scroll got his attention. Chapter 472, New Regulation. Su Ping read the introduction. Slave contract, low grade. Sign a contract that gives you absolute control and you will be the sole master. The contracted party is unable to hurt the master, nor to maintain an emotional bond with the master, or to enter the master's contract space. Duration, 1 month. Scope of application, anything below the star rank. Price, 10,000 energy points. I have never heard about anything like this. Su Ping was surprised. The slave contract was better than the astral pet contract of the general kind. It was usual for battle pet warriors to worry about their pets hurting them when they were injured. There shall be no such concerns with the slave contract. As for being unable to improve emotional bonds, generally speaking, no battle pet warrior would care about that. The battle pets were just to help the battle pet warriors fight. Who would care about emotional bonds? One thing which is inconvenient about the slave contract was that the pet could not be put away in the contract space. That was to say, the enslaved pet would have to stay with the battle pet warrior outside at all times. That would make it difficult for the battle pet warriors to access certain locations in the base city. Also, it could alert enemies when battle pet warriors were out in the wild, hunting. What a timely help! Su Ping raised his eyebrows. He was just thinking that the swamp war crocodile was a useless burden, and then he got that slave contract. It couldn't have come at a better time. 10,000 energy points for 1 month's use of a Beast King. That was a good deal. That was a Beast King, one at the latter stage of the ocean state, getting closer to the void state. Not even a legendary battle pet warrior at the ocean state could have defeated such a Beast King. Buy it. Su Ping put down the order directly. But he didn't rush into using the slave contract, which would only be effective for 1 month. Anyway, he didn't need it for the time being when he stayed inside the store. Besides, there was a chance that he could get better Beast Kings. An idea popped into his mind that excited him. With Joanna as the inside man in the demigod burial, Su Ping could ask her to get a Beast King at the peak of its state. In that way, he would have no more enemies below the star rank. Alert! The host cannot use the slave contract on beasts found in the cultivation sites. The system jumped in. Clearly, The peeping system had once again probed into his mind. Why the hell not? Su Ping could not help but bellow since his dream had been crushed. The system's voice was flat as it explained, "The slave contract is an article in the present, the actual world. The beasts from the cultivation sites are marked with the laws of the cultivation sites. This kind of poor quality slave contract cannot erase that kind of law. Only the antiquity pet contract that the host uses can erase those laws." Su Ping was speechless. Previously, when he wanted to ask Joanna to catch a bunch of beasts from the demigod burial and sell them at the store, the system refused him and quoted the world laws. What the heck were the laws? Also, even if the host can use the slave contract in the cultivation sites, the host will not be able to bring the contacted pet back to the store. The system went on. The pets under the slave contract cannot be put away into the contract space. But I shall only be responsible for taking the host to and back from the cultivation sites. The system is not responsible for any other creatures that don't feel as part of the store. Su Ping curled his lips. Why did the system sound so proud? Su Ping heaved a sigh and put away the slave contract. Anyway, the slave contract merely cost him 10,000 energy points. He wasn't losing any money in that deal. Su Ping went back to the storefront and allowed the system to estimate the price of the material he had just bought. The selling price was the same as the buying price. True. He wasn't able to make advantage of the price differences that any middleman would use. Or, to be exact, he had never been a middleman. What a first warning. What an amazing system. Su Ping decided not to challenge a system that couldn't take a joke, insult. He wasn't interested in selling the material. After all, he couldn't make any money from it. Why would he put himself through more trouble? He had a pet of his own that was able to use fire skills himself. The Inferno Dragon was both a dragon and also a member of the fire family. Besides, since the system had denied him of all chances to make any money from that material, say he had no Inferno Dragon, he would be more than happy to feed the material to the dog. Come one out, fire-breathing dragon, no, Inferno Dragon. Su Ping said in his mind. A dark and deep swirl appeared behind him. Bathed in fire, the Inferno Dragon stepped out from the swirl. The Inferno Dragon was so tall that it was going to hit the ceiling. The familiar scene of the store jumped into its eyes. The Inferno Dragon put away its ferocious aura, knowing that Su Ping had not summoned it for a battle. Here you are. Su Ping threw the blood-red grass blade that he spent 120,000 energy points onto the Inferno Dragon. The Inferno Dragon swallowed the grass blade whole while blinking in confusion. Was this dinner? Why so little? Nothing seemed different from the Inferno Dragon, as if it had just eaten air. Su Ping wondered if it was because the material needed would take some time to take effect. Letting the huge Inferno Dragon stand next to the store was troublesome. Su Ping told the Inferno Dragon to go to the nursing pen and digest the material. It would be up to fate to see to what extent the Inferno Dragon's understanding could be improved. At the same time, Zhong Lingtong, who had been chatting with Tang Ruyan on the couch, was in a daze. What did she just see? Inferno Dragon? One of the 3 rarest dragons? It took Zhong Lingtong a long while to come back to her senses. She darted an inquiring look at Su Ping. Even if she was born in the Holy Light Base city where many rare and famous pets lived, Zhong Lingtong only had a few chances to see such a rare dragon. That was not the first time she had ever met an Inferno Dragon, but this was the first time she was that close to one. Also, the master of the Inferno Dragon was her teacher. An analogy would be that you had seen other people's kids getting straight A's and it could never surprise you. But when it was your kid who suddenly began to get straight A's, well, you would be over the moon. Sir. As Su Ping came over, Zhong Lingtong could no longer control her curiosity. Yes. Is that Inferno Dragon yours? No. Zhong Lingtong could not believe that. But, it just came out of your contract space. Oh, so you saw that. So, why did you ask? Zhong Lingtong's mouth was open, but for a long while, she could not utter any sound. Tang Ruyan could not help but grin inside. Finally, she could find an ally to get a sense of how despicable that guy was. Su Ping said nothing else to the two girls. He went to the shelves to organize the pet food. Using the incubation pool was a huge investment. From then on, when he visited the demigod burial, he would have to take more pet food back with him. Relying on pet training alone could not generate money fast enough. Thinking of the demigod burial, Su Ping darted a look at the pet room. Inside a nursing pen in the pet room, Joanna suddenly opened her eyes. Somehow, she felt she had just been targeted by something. Her blood was freezing. Did something go wrong with the cultivation? Was she hallucinating? Joanna frowned as she pondered about it. Finally, that feeling disappeared and she refocused her mind on cultivation. The customers could only get general training since Su Ping had been away from the store and Joanna was in charge. Su Ping would use the dummies in those tests. He didn't have to oversee the general training himself. As such, in the afternoon and at night, Su Ping did nothing other than training at the store. At night, Su Ping went back home with Joanna, Tang Ruyan, and the newcomer who was a good eater. He thanked his mother for the fancy dinner. While having their meal, he discussed this with her mom, whether they should hire a chef so that she wouldn't be so tired. Li Qingru turned him down without thinking. The reason was that she had nothing else to do at home and hiring a chef would be too expensive. Su Ping had reiterated that money wouldn't be an issue. He gently touched upon how much money he had and yet Li Qingru insisted. She prepared to cook dinner herself and save money where possible. Su Ping had to give up. Su Ping found a room for Zhong Lingtong that night. Afterward, he went to his bedroom, cultivated till the small hours, and went to bed. The night went by quickly. They had breakfast at home the next morning. Many people had arrived at the place right next to the door. Su Ping no longer had to worry about the source of customers and his business. His store would be packed daily. He remembered what Tang Ruyan had told him the day before, about people selling spots in the line. He took a glance at the crowd and immediately noticed some who weren't battle pet warriors. Even standing in line had become a business. Su Ping wondered if he had contributed to the employment rate of the base city. The crowd got excited upon noticing Su Ping's presence. At the same time, they were a little bit intimidated by him as well. Some of the bolder customers finally worked up the courage and greeted him. "Morning, Mr. Su." "Mr. Su." Su Ping saw many familiar faces. He couldn't remember all their names, but he nodded to the ones whose faces he recognized. He opened the door. He said something before he welcomed the customers to the store. "I heard that there is someone in the line who's planning to sell seating spots to others for money. Those people are not coming for their pets to be trained. There are even cases where the spots are sold while waiting in line, although at a whopping selling price. The actual customers would have to pay a lot more money just to have their pets trained here. As such, I'm making an announcement. People who are here in line are not allowed to transfer their spots. If you're otherwise occupied and need to leave, sure. But you cannot hire someone to stand in line for you. Once I discovered another case of selling or transferring spots, both the ones who sell or buy the spots will be on the store's blacklist." The crowd quieted down a little bit. Many people began to look at each other, surprised, nervous, or feeling guilty. All the customers were aware that Su Ping was basically a titled battle pet warrior, someone who stood high above the masses. Whether he would monitor the crowd was one thing. But the fact that he had said those words was enough to deter the violators. Now, people who are in line for someone else or to sell the spots, leave. "I'll forgive your past misdeeds," Su Ping said to the crowd calmly. He went back inside without giving another look at the crowd after he finished his sentence. Some people were struggling. As more and more stepped out of the line, the ones hesitating finally left as well. As for those people who were only there to sell spots for money went away, the customers at the back of the line moved forward. They had thought that they wouldn't be able to get this day. Still, with so many people leaving, their spots in the line moved up ahead by a large margin. Su Ping got ready inside the store. He told Tang Ruyan and Zhong Lingtong to receive the customers together. Zhong Lingtong was surprised to know that she had to do this. Am I not the student? And yet, she couldn't disobey her teacher. Having no other choice, she went to the door with Tang Ruyan. Soon, the customers came in. Same as before, Su Ping wrote down their information. 4 people who had arrived to pick up their pets, he would ask Joanna to fetch them. For the ones who went there to train their pets, he would take the money and ask Joanna to take the pets to the back. Some of the repeated customers would gladly say goodbye to Su Ping and leave right after they got their pets. They would not test their pets there. The new customers, to be safe, would test the result while in the store. The results, of course, would amaze them. The training was much better than they had anticipated. Mr. Su. Suddenly, Su Ping heard a voice that was so warm that it could even melt ice. Su Ping looked at her. She seemed familiar. I am Xu Yingshu, Xu Kuang's big sister, the girl said with a blushed face. That was the second time she had met Su Ping in person. She could barely stop her heart from racing. She had heard about what Su Ping did at the Elite League and with the ones who went to his store. She didn't know the details, but seeing what he had done during the Elite League was enough to fill her with awe. He was at a stage she had been unable to reach. She remembered that she had argued with Su Ping and questioned his store in general the first time she was there. At that thought, Xu Yingshu could not help but get a little scared, worrying that Su Ping would want to get back at her. Things were different at the moment. The store was not what she had thought. She would be unable to shoulder the consequences if Su Ping wanted to retaliate. Oh, hi. Su Ping remembered her. Are you here for pet training? Xu Yingshu was relieved to find that Su Ping didn't seem to bear a grudge. She nodded at once. Yes. I've come several times but you were away. I would want to try the professional training, but the young lady over there told me that she couldn't do it when you weren't present at the store. Well, she's right. I'm back now. You want professional training, right? What's the rank of your pet? The 7th rank. Xu Yingshu had other words to say but hesitated. Finally, she summoned the courage and said, other than pet training, I'm here because my brother asked me to send a message to you. He has left the Longjiang base city to further his study at the Valiant Academy. He wanted to come and say goodbye to you in person but you weren't here. He told me to be sure to come and tell you that he wouldn't be able to visit your store for some time. Chapter 473, Hoping he returns as a better man. The Valiant Academy. Su Ping was surprised that Xu Kuang, a guy who often fooled around in his studies, had been able to enter the Valiant Academy. As far as Su Ping knew, the best academy there was in the subcontinent district should have very strict standards when admitting students. Xu Kuang was a good student, but not the most outstanding of the lot. What Su Ping didn't know was that Xu Kuang's performance during the Elite League had caught the academy's attention. That was why he received the letter of admission. All the top 5 participants had received a letter of admission, including Su Lingyu. Su Ping was unaware because since she had the invitation he had given her, she decided not to mention the additional letter of admission to him. Besides, Su Ping was in the Holy Light base city at that time. Su Lingyu didn't even mention the second invitation in the letter she had left for Su Ping. Yes. My brother said that it was all because of you. He was able to outdo himself at the Elite League thanks to the pet you rented to him, Xu Yingshu mentioned. Xu Kuang's outstanding performance had not merely amazed his academy and his family. Xu Yingshu friendly questioned Xu Kuang. By then, she had finally realized that her brother's stunning performance was all because of Su Ping and the pet had also been trained by him. In a sense, Su Ping was the reason Xu Kuang had been able to achieve such results. Because of the good results, Xu Kuang received the invitation from the Valiant Academy soon after the Elite League was over, which was excellent news for the entire family. The Valiant Academy was the most famous academy of the subcontinent district. The students who could graduate from this institution would either become masters or titled battle pet warriors in the future. As such, the Xu family was grateful to Su Ping. Don't mention it. He paid for the services, so he deserved that, Su Ping replied. But that was not enough to convince Xu Yingshu. True, Shu Kuang had spent money, but the money spent was not worth mentioning compared to what he got. Just the fact that Shu Kuang had won a good place in the elite league alone was something that couldn't be obtained with money, not to mention the fact that Shu Kuang had received an invitation from such a prestigious academy. Neither could be exchanged with money. My brother may call us occasionally. I can send a message for you, should you have anything to say to him, Shu Yingxue told Su Ping. Su Ping thought for a bit. Nothing much. Just tell him that I hope he can return a better student, not the loser student that he is now. He must not waste such a good chance. Shu Yingxue didn't know what to say. He was quite blunt about it. I will tell him that. Sure. Su Ping shifted the conversation back to business. What kind of pet do you want us to train? You can summon your pet now. You can come and pick it up if everything goes well. Okay. Shu Yingxue nodded. She summoned the pet she wanted to be trained. Her major pet had 9th rank bloodline but was currently at the 7th rank. Su Ping told Joanna to take the pet away. Do you know that the price for professional training is 100 million astral coins? Su Ping asked, afraid she was unaware. 100 million astral coins could be converted into 1 million energy points, enough for one try at the incubation pool. Yes, I do. Shu Yingxue came prepared. First of all, her brother had been brainwashing her about Su Ping's amazing abilities. Second, everyone who visited Su Ping's store had been giving good reviews. She was eager to try it herself and later found out about the professional training, which was said to be even better than general training. As for the 100 million astral coins, indeed, that sum of money was a lot for her. If she was willing, she could squeeze enough money. Anyway, she could simply convince herself that she was just withdrawing her allowance for the next few years in advance. He could deal with that kind of pressure thanks to her rich family status. Shu Yingxue paid the money quickly as if she were just buying a cup of milk tea. Su Ping was happy. The more rich girls like her, the merrier. Listen. Su Ping remembered the 2 9th rank beasts that had obtained the day before. He didn't plan on keeping any of the 2. The beasts were at the peak of the 9th rank, had pretty good combat strength and both were of extinct species. However, he didn't need any new pets since he had the little skeleton and the dark dragon hound. If he wanted new ones, he would rather get a rare one with Beast King bloodline. Do you need to buy a pet? We have 2 new pets at the peak of the 9th rank and the price is reasonable, Su Ping asked. It took Shu Yingxue 2 seconds to fully understand Su Ping's proposal. Her eyes glowed as she asked in a hurry, really? At the peak of the 9th rank? I want one. How much? Both are priced at around 60 million astral coins, Su Ping answered. With that said, Su Ping remembered something. Are you an advanced battle pet warrior? Yes. Shu Yingxue nodded but was confused. Why do you ask? Oh, Su Ping was disappointed. I don't think you can buy it. You would be able to sign the contract but it will exhaust you, and the pet can lose control easily. Both pets are pretty violent. Only master battle pet warriors and above can use such pets. Shu Yingxue became speechless due to her astonishment. She slowly opened her eyes as wide as they could go. The peak of the 9th rank you mentioned is not the bloodline. She thought Su Ping was saying that the pets had bloodline at the peak of the 9th rank. She didn't know that Su Ping was talking about the pet's current state. 2 beasts that were now at the peak of the 9th rank. Of course, Su Ping answered. Shu Yingxue opened her mouth but no sound came out. A long while later, her open mouth changed into a bitter smile. Both Su Ping and the store were unconventional. Beasts at the peak of the 9th rank are second only to Beast Kings. Not even titled battle pet warriors could have several such beasts as their pets. But Su Ping was selling them. Has anyone sold beasts like this before? Not that she had heard of. Well, you're right. I cannot buy one. Shu Yingxue produced a forced smile. She knew her limits. Not even a mild beast at the peak of the 9th rank could be tamed by her. She couldn't force a relationship with a beast. Mr. Su, are you serious about selling such pets? If so, I will find someone. Our team captain is a master battle pet warrior. He is at the 8th rank, and I can call him right now. He'll be okay if you ask for more money. Shu Yingxue said all this at once. She realized that this was not a chance to be missed. It was now or never. No other pet store could have done this. But Su Ping's store was not like the other stores. She had to trust him. Also, as far as she knew, Su Ping could capture beasts at the peak of the 9th rank and tame such beasts and make them pets. Yes, I'm serious. I will summon them later, Su Ping said. He wanted to sell the pets and convert money into more important energy points. He didn't want to let the pets occupy his storage space for long. Do hurry. I cannot save one for you if others come to buy them. Besides, the price is set. Not a penny less, nor a penny more. Su Ping was no longer the hothead that he was in the past. Pets at the peak of the 9th rank were very appealing. He would have no lack of customers. He was confident that titled battle pet warriors would be interested as soon as he spread out the word. After all, even people like Venerable the Blade would want such pets. Shu Yingxue came back to her senses. Indeed, Su Ping was practically giving away those pets by selling them at a price of several dozens of million. She would lose her chance if she didn't hurry. So, can I buy the pet or do I have to wait for my captain? Shu Yingxue asked. She would rather take the risk if the chance was going to slip away. Su Ping shook his head. I will only sell the pets to the master. No transfer or exchange is allowed. Anyone who abandons or transfers the pets bought here would be added to the store's blacklist. That was the system's requirement, and also his. It wasn't strange that a master would abandon a pet that could no longer offer enough help. Before the Dark Dragon Hound evolved, it was originally a moon-chasing hound that had been abandoned by its previous master. A master like that was not the worst, at least the pet was left in a pet store. The pet would not starve to death if it could meet a better master. Other battle pet warriors would prefer not going through so much trouble. Maybe they would leave the base city, find someplace in the wild, and then cancel the contract directly. As such, even without the system's reminder, Su Ping hated such a situation to an extreme. Shu Yingxue understood what he meant. If shopping agents were allowed in the store, then anyone could come and buy a pet, to later sell it to someone else at a higher price to make money. I will call my captain now. Shu Yingxue stepped away to make the call without any hesitation, or wasting another second thanking Su Ping. Chapter 474, Exhibition. The other customers waiting in line heard the stunning conversation between Su Ping and Shu Yingxue. Su Ping was going to sell pets at the peak of the 9th rank? Weren't pets at the peak of the 9th rank the most powerful pets below the Beast King level? Who would sell such pets? Was he willing to do it? Sir, do you mean it? The young man standing behind Shu Yingxue stepped forward and asked the question immediately after Shu Yingxue walked away. He was so excited that he didn't remember to mention that he was there for pet training. Yes. Su Ping nodded. The young man could not believe it and neither could the people standing behind him. If it weren't for the fact that the orders in Su Ping's store had always been kept well and rarely would anyone make a noise, the customers would want to scream their lungs out. What a shocking piece of news. Su Ping was selling pets at the peak of the 9th rank. For most stores, not even their most prized treasure could reach that rank. Sir, can I buy it? A refined middle-aged man in a smart dress asked, his voice trembling. Su Ping darted a look at the man, sensing the profound astral powers in him. Which rank are you at? I am an advanced battle pet warrior. Oh, no. Su Ping shook his head. Only master battle pet warriors and above can buy these pets or else the pets cannot be contained. I must ensure the safety of my customers. Battle pet warriors could build a contract with pets 2 ranks higher. A 7th rank battle pet warrior could sign a contract with pets of the 9th rank. But that merely applied to the average 9th rank pets, not those at the peak of the 9th rank. A contract could be established if one forced it, but that would place the battle pet warrior in extreme danger, since the pet could get out of control at any time. By then, the first one to be attacked by a vicious beast running wild would be the master. The pet would even eat up the master as a snack. The middle-aged man was wordless for a long time. He wanted to say, "Please just sell the pet to me and I would never hold you accountable for anything." However, as the words reached the tip of his tongue, he became scared. The pets were at the peak of the 9th rank. The most powerful pet he had was of the 8th rank. He didn't have any pets at the 9th rank, not to mention the peak of the 9th rank, something that was second to Beast Kings. The other customers felt disappointed. But at the same time, they were aware that such pets could only belong to the powerful. As for them, they could just be happy they could be there witnessing all this. Most people present were at the 4th or 5th rank. Few were at the 6th rank. After all, the number of advanced battle pet warriors were few, let alone master battle pet warriors. There were less than 1,000 master battle pet warriors in the entire Longjiang base city. Half of those master battle pet warriors would be stationed in the strongholds outside the base city. As for the other half, they would be either busy making money every day or enjoying their retired lives in the base city. They were willing to go to the store and take a look after they heard about their amazing training services. However, they were unwilling to stand in line waiting and squander away their time. As such, some master trainers that were interested in Su Ping's store would hire people to stand in line on their behalf. Still, after this day's new regulations, the ones who were lining up for the money left. As a result, the ones remaining were basically all low or middle rank battle pet warriors. There were a few who were advanced battle pet warriors. At the store, Shu Yingxue called her captain. She blurted out as soon as he picked up, "Captain, where are you? Stop whatever it is you are doing. Get some money and come to the Pixie right now." "Here? What?" Shu Yingxue could hear some noises coming from the other side of the call. Her captain sounded confused. "What is going on? Is someone bullying you?" "What Pixie?" "The most popular Pixie pet store in the base city." Shu Yingxue could hear that her captain was hunting in the barren area and she could hear other team members that were talking to her captain. Feeling impatient, she shouted, "Pets at the peak of the 9th rank are on sale here at a low price. Hurry over, or you'll lose the chance." "What? Pets at the peak of the 9th rank? On sale?" The captain noticed the keywords. "Yingxu, you're not kidding with me, are you?" He could not believe this. Shu Yingxue was losing all her patience. "Do I look like someone that would joke around? I'm the first person to know and the news will get out soon. You won't get anything if others come first. This is a rare chance." The captain realized that Shu Yingxue meant it. It was just that he had not recovered from the stunning news. Pets at the peak of the 9th rank on sale? Who would do that? "Wait for me. I'm going right now." "Stall him, beep." He hung up before he finished his sentence. Someone was battling against some wild beasts in a place found in the barren area. "Captain, was that Sister Shu?" someone asked. "Yes. I need to get back to the base city, so I'll leave the mission to you. I have to go now." The middle-aged man who was the captain summoned a flying battle pet, hopped onto its back, and took flight at once, dashing into the distance. The other team members had never seen their captain in such a hurry before. Did something happen to Sister Shu? The others were afraid. They were no longer in the mood to kill those wild beasts to get merit points. Someone who seemed to be the vice captain shouted, "Let's go. Hurry up." "Yes." They cleared the area of the wild beasts and left in haste. At the store, Shu Yingxu was glad to have made the call, but she was still worried. Their team would be empowered if her captain could get the pet that Su Ping said was at the peak of the 9th rank. They could have their way even in classer barren areas. She wasn't sure if her captain could make it. She turned to the counter, only to see that Su Ping was walking outside. "What is going on?" Shu Yingxue went after Su Ping. Su Ping went to the door while surrounded by customers who were begging to see the pets he was planning on selling. He agreed, since he was going to sell the pets sooner or later. There was a long line outside the store. Those people in the line were surprised that Su Ping would exit the store. Su Ping went to the location where he once left the Inferno Dragon on display. He pulled up the interface and summoned the 2 newly added battle pets. 2 swirls came out. At first look, one would think that Su Ping was calling out his own pets. Roar! Along with a low roar full of bloodthirsty intent, wild energy emerged from the swirl. Then, the fierce fire ape landed heavily. It was more than a dozen meters tall, as high as a 2- or 3-story building. With red hair and skin, the fierce fire ape seemed to have come out from blood itself. Wild and barbaric. A violent beast that had never been tamed was standing there. The Abyss Spirit Feeder stepped out from the other swirl. The Abyss Spirit Feeder had a body that was like a cloud of dark and twisted mist, and also a raging wildfire floating in the air, but there was a faint sight of flesh and blood inside. What looked like a layer of skin was in fact a mass of slippery and soft tissues, giving people an unusually uncomfortable feeling. It was complete darkness around the Abyss Spirit Feeder. There wasn't even the slightest trace of a shadow. The 2 pets at the peak of the 9th rank stunned the customers who had followed Su Ping outside, including those who were still standing outside the store and unaware of their previous conversation. As she came out after Su Ping, Shu Yingxue was taken aback by the 2 pets. Chapter 475. First come, first served. Shu Yingxue no longer had any doubts. Even while being a dozen meters away and with so many people between her and the pet, she could still feel that she had been thrown into a world of ice. Her blood was freezing and her heart was throbbing. She was covered in a cold sweat. Pets at the peak of the 9th rank. Shu Yingxue noticed that she couldn't utter a sound and was barely able to breathe. The 2 pets that Su Ping had summoned quieted everyone down. Su Ping darted a look at the 2 pets that were standing there quietly. The pets would be kept in check by the system as long as they were within the range of the store. They could only be put on display and would not be able to attack the customers. He would have an independent room to put the pets on display once he upgraded the store to the 4th rank. He could only leave the pets by the door at the moment. You can look all you want but remember not to pat them, Su Ping said to the customers. The customers came back from the shock. They wanted to reply with a smile but failed. Pat them? No kidding. Even looking at the pets was enough to make them shudder in fear. Patting the pets? What? Were they worried that they had been living for too long? Okay, listen. Return to your line if you're here for pet training. The customers could look all they wanted but the business had to continue. Some customers were still standing there, carefully sizing up the 2 pets. Some customers, on the other hand, hurried back to the line. They could always return and look at the pets after finishing their transactions. They would miss nothing and the pets weren't going anywhere. Shu Yingxue stood there in a daze for a moment, but soon came back to her senses. She grabbed her phone again and called the captain, urging him over and over again. Hurry up! Faster! Shu Yingxue wished she could yank her captain over from where he was in the distance. The news that Su Ping was going to sell 2 pets at the peak of the 9th rank instantly flew out from his store. The intelligence groups from the major families sent the stunning information back to their families the moment they heard it. The Qin family estate. In a garden. Yes. Qin Juhuang suddenly felt a vibration coming from his wrist while he was enjoying tea and chatting with an old friend. He raised his eyebrows. Only a few could reach him by this number, either those who were close to him or people who had to report something urgent and critical. Qin Juhuang saw the number. He didn't avoid taking the call in front of his old friend. What is it? His voice was low. Sir, come here, quickly, a middle-aged man screamed in excitement. That almost freaked Qin Juhuang out. Sir, please come to the Pixie Pet store right this moment, as quickly as you can. There are pets at the peak of the 9th rank on sale, pets that we have never seen before. The middle-aged man hurled out the words quickly and Qin Juhuang could tell how thrilled he had to be. It was hard to imagine this word spill from a middle-aged man who was usually stable and serious in both speech and manner. Qin Juhuang was surprised. Pixie Pet store? His mind began to process quickly upon hearing those words. Pets at the peak of the 9th rank, on sale? He soon realized the importance of what he had just heard. Without further ado, he stood up and said to his old friend, "Come with me, right now." With that said, Qin Huang stood up and took to the skies while he summoned his flying ride. The old man sitting across the table from Qin Huang could not understand what was happening. Why the rush? We haven't finished tea yet. The old man decided not to ask any questions. He stood up in haste as well. To asking those questions, he had to catch up with Qin Huang first. Mu family territory, in one of their pavilions. Mu Beihai was reviewing some documents. The Liu family had to give up half of their assets after their conflict with Su Ping. Right then, the other four major families were eyeing the other half of the Liu family's assets. The Mu family had merged some of the Liu family's companies, and Mu Beihai had to spend some time considering the mergers and acquisitions. What? He felt the phone buzzing. Mu Beihai was interrupted. He cast a look at the number. This had to be something important because the caller was the person he had sent to spy on Su Ping's store. "What is happening?" he asked. "Sir, you told us to keep an eye on Mr. Su. Just now, he summoned 2 pets of unknown kinds outside his store. We have also found out that the 2 pets are at the peak of the 9th rank and Mr. Su is selling them. We also heard that the price is as low as a few dozens of millions." The person gave a very comprehensive and slow report. Mu Beihai's heart skipped a beat the moment he heard the word selling. He wasn't surprised that Su Ping would have pets at the peak of the 9th rank. But he was surprised that Su Ping was willing to sell such pets. At dozens of millions? What was that about? Mu Beihai could not understand this. Another idea popped into his mind. Is this all a ruse? Is Su Ping just trying to make us gather at his store? Would Su Ping do this to catch the whole lot in a single move? And then, was he going to swallow up all the 5 major families and be the one overlord of the Longjiang base city? The more he thought about it, the more plausible Mu Beihai thought it was. After all, who would happily sell pets at the peak of the 9th rank? At the very least, Su Ping could use those pets as his secondary pets. Those at the titled rank could have 9 pets. So, did Su Ping have more than 9 pets at the peak of the 9th rank? Mu Beihai dismissed that idea. Even he only had 3 such pets. Even the old fella from the Qin family only had 3 such pets. Or, maybe he was hiding one more, but that was it. Those who could have 9 pets at the peak of the 9th rank were the most powerful among all titled battle pet warriors, and there would be few of such people even in Tier 1 base cities. After deliberation, consideration, and hesitation, Mu Beihai decided he should go and have a look. He believed that Su Ping didn't have to play games to annex the 5 major families if that was his goal. He was basically the boss of the Longjiang base city with the legendary battle pet warrior in his store. His words were like military orders and no one could disobey them. It was possible that Su Ping didn't even care about a small place like the Longjiang base city. After that thought was considered, Mu Beihai realized that his ideas were going in the wrong direction, which filled him with anxiety. He left for Su Ping's store without further hesitation. In the meantime, the Liu family, the Zhu family, and the Yi family had already received the news. Their reactions varied, but all of them showed up at the store. At the same time, the rich of the upper class were also informed. All of them hurried over, eager to see whether the information was true. At the mayor's office, Xie Jinshui heard the report. He didn't realize that Su Ping was going to create such a huge sensation soon after his return. Su Ping was selling pets at the peak of the 9th rank. Is Su Ping quitting as a battle pet warrior? Or, did Su Ping have enough pets already and no longer needed more? Xie Jinshui went to the Pixie Pet store without wasting another second. The titled battle pet warriors who worked for the government also set off to try their luck. If that was true, they would exhaust their means to get one. A pet at the peak of the 9th rank could distinguish them from the rest of the titled battle pet warriors. Outside the Pixie Pet store, more and more people were gathered there. The residents who were in the nearby streets were there to also have a look. They were the first ones to arrive since they were close, but all of them were common people. Some had the fortune to have children who had become battle pet warriors. Still, since their pockets weren't deep enough, those families were unable to raise their children to a high rank. Those battle pet warriors who were merely at the low or middle rank would never be able to buy the 2 pets. Also, even though the price was low enough to make people think that Su Ping was giving away the pets, dozens of millions were a huge sum of money for those from the shanty town area. Su Ping's store was being filled to the brim with people. He was surprised. Half an hour had already passed, but nobody had shown up to buy the 2 pets yet. They're so slow. He went to the door. The store was heavily packed with onlookers who would point at the 2 pets but afraid to get closer. Cry! Suddenly, a sharp whistling sound came from the sky which alarmed everyone. Immediately afterward, the people present looked up and saw a huge bird flying over. The huge bird was more than 10 meters large. It looked like a dark cloud, casting a large shadow onto the street. Chapter 476, The Unconventional Man. The bird was a blue-feathered crested eagle at the upper position of the 9th rank. Those that had recognized the huge bird were stunned. The person who could ride on such a bird had to be a titled battle pet warrior. It was definitely not your average Joe. Whoosh! A man jumped off from the bird and following him was another man. Both were titled battle pet warriors. They dived down from the sky and as they approached the ground, then slowed down drastically. The wind stirred up dust off the ground as the 2 old men landed softly. It was Qin Juhuang, the current family head of the Qin family. The other one was his old friend. He had at one time been a famous titled battle pet warrior, but began to enjoy touring scenic spots in his senior years. He recently happened to stop by the Longjiang base city and decided to go and have a chat with his friend Qin Juhuang. Mr. Su. Qin Juhuang flashed a smile and greeted Su Ping as soon as his feet were on the ground. I was in a hurry. Sorry about the disturbance. With that said, a swirl appeared above his head and the blue-feathered crested eagle went back. Qin Juhuang's friend was surprised as he looked at Su Ping. He had heard from Qin Juhuang about this store after having stayed in the Longjiang base city for a couple of days. Was this young man the one who had forced the Star organization to compromise, and also made a clean sweep of the Tang family? Was this the store where a legendary battle pet warrior was residing? Qin Juhuang's friend didn't show his confusion and questions. Following Qin Juhuang's lead, he also waved his hand and greeted Su Ping, treating the latter as an equal. It's okay. Su Ping nodded. Qin Juhuang darted a look to the side after all the niceties were exchanged. He had noticed the 2 ferocious beasts while he was still riding on the blue-feathered crested eagle. One look and he could tell that both beasts were at the peak of the 9th rank. The overwhelming energy from the 2 beasts even made him feel pressured. He assumed that the 2 beasts were not common. Since he had confirmed that the report he received was true, Qin Juhuang became even more excited. After taking one more look, he asked, Mr. Su, I heard that you are selling the 2 beasts. Is this true? Yes. Su Ping nodded. Qin Juhuang felt his heart skip a beat and his friend was surprised yet again. Qin Juhuang hurried to his second question, anything special about the sale? Can I buy one? Anyone who can control the beasts can buy them, Su Ping stated. Being supervised by the system at all times, he wasn't at liberty to pick customers. He could still refuse those unable to control the 2 beasts. But anyone with enough ability was allowed to buy them. First come, first served. Also, Su Ping didn't plan on picking customers to begin with. If he wanted, he could employ some special means to get the customer he liked to get there first before he put the 2 beasts on display. That way, that specific customer would have been able to place an order first. He didn't want to get involved in such trickery. At the very least, he would have to wait until he had Beast Kings on sale. Beast Kings were quite different from the other beasts. Each Beast King was like a nuclear bomb. He would prefer to sell Beast Kings to people he was familiar with. If a stranger bought a Beast King, what if that person decided to misuse the pet to stage battles everywhere? That would be an ugly scene. Both Qin Juhuang and his friend found it hard to believe. Anyone who could control the beasts was allowed to buy them? Finally, Qin Huang understood why his man had called him in such a rush and even sounded disrespectful. It turned out that Su Ping was putting a pile of gold up for grabs on the street. Phew! A close one. Nothing would have been left for him if he were late. Mr. Su, I want one. Qin Huang shouted at once. Me, too. His friend did not hesitate, either. Qin Huang was unhappy but he didn't show it. He regretted taking his old buddy along. If he hadn't, he could have bought two for himself. Of course, since his friend had said so, Qin Huang couldn't stop him. To turn hostile towards an old friend over a pet at the peak of the 9th rank was not worthwhile and would not look good. One should cherish one's longtime friend, which was hard to find. Qin Huang's friend was relieved to see that Qin Huang said nothing to stop him. He knew he was somewhat crossing the line a little bit. He had only benefited from association with Qin Huang. Sure. Su Ping nodded. Get your money ready. Qin Huang was about to ask about the price when he heard a whooshing sound coming from afar. Another huge bird was coming. That one was also at the upper position of the 9th rank, just as powerful as the blue-feathered crested eagle. Whoosh! A person jumped off from the bird. It was Zhu Tianlin. Before he had reached the door, Zhu Tianlin's voice had arrived first. Hold on. Once he landed, Zhu Tianlin looked at the two violent beasts by the door. The energy from the beasts seemed to be from the ancient past. He was even more anxious. Mr. Su, can I buy the two pets? I can give you 1 billion. The onlookers gathered on the street were stunned dumb by the offered amount. 1 billion. That was a sum of money that many of them would never be able to make in their entire lives. Qin Huang pulled a long face. He turned around and glared at Zhu Tianlin. Qin Huang was about to show his teeth when he thought of Su Ping. He calmed down once he thought of the store owner. Zhu Tianling was making a higher offer to compete with him. Qin Huang was worried that Su Ping would be mad with him if he were to force Zhu Tiantin to back down. Qin Huang turned back to Su Ping and said, Mr. Su, my friend and I together will offer you 1.5 billion. That offer threw the onlookers into another sensation. That was 0.5 billion more. Not 5 coins, but 500 million, which was more than enough to buy 10 streets from the vicinity. Whoosh! Right then, another noise came from the sky. This time, it was the family head of the Yi family. Fancy seeing all of you here. He raised his eyebrows. He thought he had been fast enough and yet he was still slower than Qin Huang and Zhu Tianlin. Zhu Tianlin was far from glad. Ever since Su Ping broke into his family, he knew more than anyone how terrifying Su Ping was. Therefore, he left for Su Ping's store the moment he received the information. Zhu Tianlin was sure that the information couldn't be wrong. Unbelievable as it might sound, Zhu Tianlin was certain that Su Ping was able to do such a thing. This young man is a weirdo, a freak. Are those two the pets? The family head of the Yi family had a change of expression when he saw the fierce fire ape and the abyss spirit feeder. The two beasts were dangerous. He said to Su Ping at once, Mr. Su, the Yi family wants the two pets. You can name the price as you like. Qin Huang and Zhu Tianlin were not happy. Was Su Ping going to let them bid for the two pets right there? They saw that Su Ping had turned deathly pale. What's with that face? Su Ping took a deep breath. Instead of answering the questions, he was scolding the system. Listen. Will you listen to this? Isn't your heart aching? Nope. The system's answer was brief. You have no heart, let alone heartache to speak of. Su Ping was filing his teeth. The system's answer was, no. It's because the pets are not mine, but yours. So, I don't get troubled. Su Ping. What the? Su Ping felt his heart had been crushed into pieces. Those offers didn't make him happy. If anything, they made him feel even more frustrated. Su Ping took another deep breath in. I have announced the price. Each pet will be sold at around 60 million, not 1 penny less, not 1 penny more. His face was still clouded. In the past, he would have wanted to make more money if he could. even when said money couldn't be converted into energy points. However, he was no longer in need of money after having gained half of the Liu family's assets and a large pile of treasures. He had so much money that he didn't bother to check and was too lazy to care. Anyway, as long as he stayed away from gambling, he would never exhaust the money he had. After all, there were few places that he had to spend money on. He had become disinterested in money. Of course, the kind of money he couldn't convert into energy points. 60 million. No one could believe this. How mind-blowing. The onlookers thought that the previous offers were astounding enough. But the store boss was even more so. He didn't even care about money. He insisted on setting the price at 60 million and was unwilling to take the rest. Why? His giving the pets away. For a moment, the onlookers thought they had seen some sort of truth about Su Ping. It turned out that he wasn't running a store for money, but as a hobby. Right. He was a person at the peak of the titled rank who could also smash the protective seal with one punch at the Elite League. Why would he open a store just for money? The onlookers felt Su Ping was different from the rest. Unconventional and free from vulgarity. Chapter 477. Chance only favors the prepared mind. Mr. Su, are you serious? Zhu Tianlin was baffled. He stood, rooted on the ground. Su Ping was fine settling for 60 million and foregoing the billions? He was giving away the pets for free. Qin Juhuang was just as puzzled. What did he have up his sleeve? Mr. Su, how do we proceed? Qin Juhuang asked at once. He didn't care about how much money he had to spend. He would be willing even if Su Ping were to ask for over 1 million. He just wanted to get the pets as soon as possible. How? Su Ping didn't know what to say. Delivery upon payment. Give me a good review after we finish our transaction. That is how. Have you all forgotten how to buy things after staying in your high positions for too long? They all looked at Su Ping, still dumbfounded. Of course, they knew how to buy things. But that was how they would buy common pets. We're talking about pets at the peak of the 9th rank here. So simple? Really? Qin Juhuang came back to his senses at once. Mr. Su, I will pay right now. You've already promised me that you're going to sell them to me. I'm paying right now. 60 million, right? I am giving you 100 million. With that said, he was ready to transfer the money on his phone. First come, first served. Since Su Ping had said so, he would have to trust him. Anyways, the top priority was to get the pets. Zhu Tianlin and the family head of the Yi family hurried over. Me, too. They elbowed each other away, trying to be the first to give Su Ping money. Su Ping said grumpily, Please, you're all family heads. Why aren't you acting even as politely as the common people? Don't you know something called a line? Zhu Tianlin and the family head of the Yi family were rendered speechless. For God's sake, pets at the peak of the 9th rank could make any common titled battle pet warrior become outstanding. Who would care about politeness? Su Ping should be happy that they didn't start fighting about the pets. While the two of them were getting red in the face, Qin Juhuang had snatched the first position in the line. Standing behind him was his old friend who reacted quite quickly as well. Mr. Su, I'm ready to make the transfer. Qin Juhuang smiled brightly. Whether Su Ping meant what he said or not, Qin Juhuang was the first in line. No need for him to panic anymore. Su Ping nodded. He texted his account number to Qin Juhuang and asked, Which one do you want? That one. Qin Juhuang paid 100 million and pointed to the fierce fire ape, that is a pet of the fire family, a perfect fit for me. Su Ping nodded and replied, That one is 59 million. I'll give you back the extra money. I told you, not a penny more. Don't make me go through the trouble of giving back money again in the future. Qin Juhuang was speechless. He was just trying to be generous and he ended up being scolded. Su Ping really didn't want to make money? Qin Juhuang gave an embarrassed smile but didn't ask more questions. He could not figure out Su Ping's personality, so he decided to be prudent and precise in speech. Su Ping saw the 59 million astral coins were converted into 590,000 energy points. After feeling a tingling pain in his heart, he heaved a sigh inwardly and shook his head. All right now, go and sign the contract. Anyway, do you know the requirements for buying pets in my store? Requirements? Qin Juhuang was about to sign the contract. Su Ping's words made him nervous. What requirements? Qin Juhuang said to himself that things indeed were more complicated than it appeared. Zhu Tianlin and the family head of the Yi family thought the same thing. Su Ping had other intentions. Su Ping had to repeat his rules. Anyone who buys pets in my store cannot abandon or transfer the pets. If you don't need the pets or the pets have become useless to you, you will have to wait for 10 years before you can cancel the contract. Even after that, you must treat your pet well. Either you find the pets a new master or you find a way to make sure that they can spend the rest of their lives in comfort. All three were puzzled. They thought that Su Ping was going to ask them something extremely hard or was up to something shady. It turned out that it was a simple demand. Who would transfer or abandon a pet at the peak of the 9th rank? No problem, Qin Juhuang answered at once. Nan. You better be a man of your word. Once you violate your promise, your name will be on the blacklist and shall never be removed from it. Su Ping sounded serious. The rules were made by the system. The system must have a way to supervise the pet owners, and anyone who violated the rules would be put onto the blacklist automatically. Qin Juhuang knew that Su Ping meant it. He thought about it seriously and answered after he was sure that he could do it. I will make sure of that. Su Ping nodded and said nothing else. Su Ping mentioned no more rules or requirements. Qin Juhuang asked carefully, then, should I go and sign the contract now? Yes. Qin Juhuang breathed in relief after gaining Su Ping's permission. Amid everyone's eyes, nervously and excited, Qin Juhuang approached the two pets. He went to the fierce fire ape and raised his head to look into its eyes. The ape was looking at him as well. What a pair of cold and detached eyes. Instead of feeling afraid, Qin Juhuang was quite happy. The more violent the pet was, the more powerful it would be. First, Qin Juhuang unleashed a small wisp of astral powers and placed his hand on the ape. He started the process after making sure that the pet was not resisting him. Roar! The fierce fire ape bellowed during the process. Since Qin Juhuang was a titled battle pet warrior, signing the contract with a pet of the 9th rank was not a difficult thing. Soon, the contract was established. A beam of blue light turned into some intricate lines that were engraved on the fierce fire ape. The lines submerged into its fur and left a mark on its soul. In the meantime, similar lines appeared on Qin Juhuang's forehead and then sunk into his skin. The contract was signed. Nature was the witness. Qin Juhuang was happy once he felt the additional consciousness in his mind. A swirl appeared. The fierce fire ape glared at him but did not resist being sucked into the swirl. Again. The swirl appeared and the fierce fire ape emerged. Zhu Tianlin and the family head of the Yi family could not believe that this pet had really become Qin Juhuang's. He spent 59 million and got a pet, at the peak of the 9th rank. The two of them were envious. They turned to Su Ping. Mr. Su, Mr. Su, how much is the other one? The old man standing behind Qin Juhuang hurled out his question faster. That one is 65 million, Su Ping said. The old man transferred the money without even blinking his eyes. He was quite happy, as a matter of fact. A noise was heard in the sky, right when he paid the money. Two massive birds flew over. Even while being hundreds of meters in the air, the wind was still strong enough to stir up the dust on the ground. Two men jumped off from the birds, Mu Beihai and Liu Tianzong. The two of them saw the two pets as soon as they landed. They hurried to greet Su Ping. Remembering what he heard from the report, Mu Beihai asked, Mr. Su, how much? Liu Tianzong turned his sight away from the two pets and looked at Su Ping with anticipation. After all that he did to Su Ping, Liu Tianzong struggled for a bit, deciding whether he should go after he received the information, which was why he was late. Once he saw the two beasts with his own eyes, He was sure that both were at the peak of the 9th rank and quite intimidating. Buying any one of the pets would mean that the Liu family could be saved after giving half of their assets to Su Ping. As long as he could become more powerful, he could make the money back bit by bit. If what he heard was real, Liu Tianzong decided that he had to fight for a chance. Su Ping darted them a look as he broke the bad news to them. "You're too late. The 2 pets have already been sold." "What?" Liu Tianzong felt he was struck by a bolt from the blue. Mu Beihai could not believe it, either. He turned to Qin Juhuang and Zhu Tianlin and pulled a long face. "Did you buy them?" Zhu Tianlin and the family head of the Yi family were not looking happy, either. Not the plural you. It was just Qin, that scheming old punk. "Well, sorry about that." Qin Juhuang knew he couldn't hide such information and he didn't plan on doing so, to begin with. Mu Beihai's face turned black with rage as Qin Juhuang gloated. Mu Beihai was a bit afraid of Qin Juhuang, for starters. Since Qin Juhuang got his hands on a new pet, that would mean the gap between them was even wider. "Mr. Su, how much did Qin spend?" "I will give you 1 more billion. Mu Beihai said to Su Ping at once. The onlookers who still lingered for the fun felt they could no longer take the shock. Indeed, they would never understand the big potatoes. Chapter 478, Buying the Streets. Qin Juhuang knew that Mu Beihai was the only one who would dare to challenge him in public. Before Su Ping could say anything, Qin Juhuang started. "Dude, you are advanced in age. Don't you know a thing called first come, first served? Do you think Mr. Su is someone in want of money? Does he even need that pitiful billion? Or are you implying that our Qin family is too poor to give enough money?" Mu Beihai wore an angry look. Of course, he knew that if they were bidding, the Qin family would be able to make a generous offer. But the Mu family was willing to go beyond that. Forever number 2. The Mu family had ranked number 2 for years and years. The Mu family had finally begun to catch up with the Qin family in recent times. If Qin Juhuang were to take the 2 pets away, then everything that the Mu family had been striving for in the past decade would be for nothing. They would once again lag behind the Qin family. Therefore, he had to fight for the 2 battle pets. At the very least, he would have to get his hands on one of them. "Mr. Su, I'm being sincere and honest with you. We are willing to buy the pets, whatever the cost. I know you have enough money. If you want something else, we can do that, too. We won't make a less generous offer than what the Qin family has presented." Mu Beihai didn't argue with Qin Juhuang. He knew he should talk to Su Ping. The battle pets were Su Ping's. His decision mattered the most in the sale. Qin Juhuang was surprised to see that Mu Beihai would go to such lengths. Su Ping shook his head after hearing his plea. Anyone who follows the store's rules is a welcomed customer. All customers must follow the order. Qin was here first and he had paid for the pet. Therefore, the pet is his. Chance only favors the prepared minds. If you want the pets, come early next time. Qin Juhuang heaved a sigh of relief. It was a good thing that Su Ping was not tempted by Mu Beihai. The onlookers felt a surge of mixed feelings. That was to say, Su Ping was regarding them as equal to those big potatoes. Zhu Tianlin and the family head of the Yi family noticed the word "next time," which took them aback. There would be a next time? Both gulped. They were very tempted. If Su Ping could sell pets like this once, he could do it another time, and another. That was nothing strange. They thought of the legendary battle pet warrior inside Su Ping's store. Catching beasts at the peak of the 9th rank alive was child's play to a legendary battle pet warrior. No wonder Su Ping would put the pets on sale. For any other people, pets at the peak of the 9th rank would be hard to see. For Su Ping, all he had to do was to find those beasts and have them captured. That was the charm of the legendary rank. A rank higher, but it meant a world of difference. Zhu Tianlin and the family head of the Yi family were itching to attain the legendary rank. Of course, they were aware that an itch could get them nowhere. They were not alone. All titled battle pet warriors were dreaming of reaching the legendary rank. Mu Beihai was anxious, but he didn't say anything. It seemed that Su Ping was not going to be moved by his offers. Mu Beihai turned to Qin Juhuang and immediately noticed the latter's expression. There was a grin that only Mu Beihai could understand. Damn it! Mu Beihai felt disappointed and angry. When he first received the information, he assumed that Su Ping was up to something untoward, so he didn't leave at once. At the moment, he wished he could slap himself in the face. If he had been there first, he might have already pocketed both pets. In that case, he would have been more powerful than before and could even be a true match to Qin Juhuang. That way, the Mu family could soar and surpass the Qin family. A momentary slip and a world of difference. Damn it! Damn it! Mu Beihai pulled a long face. He hated himself. He hated the fact that the information was not delivered clearly enough and that Qin Juhuang had arrived that quickly. He would be less mad if others would have bought the pets. Qin Juhuang was the sole person he wished to have never bought the pets. Since there was nothing Mu Beihai could do, Liu Tianzong knew he had also lost his chance. What was done couldn't be undone. Liu Tianzong felt sorry that a chance for his family to get back on its feet had slipped past him right under his nose. He wished he could go back and cook his bird right away. Why the hell couldn't you fly faster? Qin Juhuang's friend had already signed a contract with the Abyss Spirit Feeder and stored it away. Mu Beihai noticed this. So, Qin Juhuang didn't get both pets. He also knew the old man, Qin Juhuang's friend. A friend was a friend, not an actual member of the Qin family. As such, Mu Beihai felt the outcome was not as hard to stomach. Thank you, Mr. Su, Qin Juhuang expressed his gratitude again. If you want to thank me, remember to find the materials I need, Su Ping answered calmly. Qin Juhuang remembered the list of materials that Su Ping had told all the major families to find for him. Qin Juhuang nodded at once. I'm searching for the materials via every means we have in the Qin family. I'm sure we will receive an update soon enough. That conversation inspired Mu Beihai and Zhu Tianlin. Su Ping didn't want money, but he needed special materials. They could find a way to be closer to Su Ping by getting him those materials. That way, they might later gain special advantages when a good chance popped up again in the future. They all promised that they would do their best to find those things. Su Ping nodded and thanked each of them. Selling the 2 pets had covered some of his losses, and at the same time he could urge the family heads to work harder to find materials he needed for the solar bulwark. All in all, it had been a good deal. Shu Yingxue was still standing by the door. She witnessed the entire process, much to her dismay and disappointment. She didn't know that those family heads would show up so quickly. Her captain would arrive too late to the party. Standing next to her was Tang Ruyan, who was also stunned. She didn't expect that Su Ping would really sell the pets. Even the Tang family would cherish them. The elders in high positions would even fight to get those pets. However, Su Ping sold them at an outrageously low price. When did the guy start to do charity? Sir. Zhong Lingtong was still dazed and confused. My teacher just sold the 2 pets like that? For real? She had never heard about such actions, not even in the Holy Light Base City. That was beyond logic. But why would my teacher sell the pets at such a low price? Zhong Lingtong wondered. All of a sudden, Qin Juhuang thought of something. He said goodbye to Su Ping and turned around to leave. Right then, a car drove by the street. The onlookers were startled by the license plate. They stepped to the sides because that was the mayor's car. The car pulled over to the side and Xie Jinshui got out of the vehicle. The heavy crowds and the presence of Qin Juhuang, Mu Beihai, and the others surprised Xie Jinshui. Once again, the most powerful battle pet warriors of the Longjiang base city were gathered in that small place. Those people together could turn the world upside down in the base city. Mr. Su. The first thing that Xie Jinshui did was to greet Su Ping. He didn't even talk to Qin Juhuang and the other family heads first. Xie Jinshui was smart enough to know that Su Ping was the most important guy in all of the Longjiang base city. Sir. Su Ping didn't expect that even the mayor would have heard about it. Is this the pet you put on sale? Xie Jinshui noticed the fierce fire ape. He was immediately able to tell how powerful the pet was. Su Ping nodded. Both have already been sold. Sir, you'll have to wait till next time if you want to get one. Both? Xie Jinshui could not believe that Su Ping was selling two at a time. From the report he received, he knew that Su Ping was selling pets, but the report didn't specify how many. The old man who had bought the Abyss Spirit Feeder smiled a smug smile. Brother Xie, I got the other one. Xie Jinshui, naturally, knew that old man. Xie Jinshui had also noticed the sour-faced Mu Beihai, Liu Tianzong and the rest. The former could understand what had happened. Man, you got a good deal. Not even our local people had a chance. Xie Jinshui produced a forced smile. I got lucky. The old man smiled happily. Making that trip to the Longjiang base city was the best decision he had made. He was even wondering if he should bring his family over and live in the Longjiang base city permanently from then on. It seems that I am late. Xie Jinshui didn't hide his intention of purchasing the pet. No one would believe anyone who claimed to have no interest in such a pet. Sir, you have come at a perfect time. The sour-faced Mu Beihai suddenly shouted. I'm buying this street and the area extending 5,000 meters from this point. Chapter 479, Moving. Here. For a moment, Xie Jinshui failed to understand what Mu Beihai was implying by saying those baffling words. Did he want to buy the street and the surrounding area? They were in the shanty town area and there was the property value of the street. All of a sudden, Xie Jinshui stumbled upon the truth. As he stood on the side, Qin Duhuang pulled a long face when he heard Mu Beihai's request. Qin Duhuang had also thought of this idea, but he didn't say it out loud. He planned to leave and privately buy the streets afterward. It never occurred to him that the fool Mu Beihai would also think of this idea, and he was asking the mayor directly. Mu Beihai was one step ahead. Zhu Tianlin and Liu Tianzong soon understood why Mu Beihai was asking this. Both became angry. Buying the nearby properties? Mu Beihai was saying that he wanted to be as close to Su Ping as possible. Su Ping said that he would follow the rules of first come, first served in the store. But no one could tell when Su Ping would sell pets like this again in the future. Naturally, those who lived closer could get there faster. If the entire neighborhood belonged to the Mu family in the future, they would always be the first to get the pets that Su Ping put on sale. What a cunning little man. The others swore inwardly. Mu Beihai could easily tell that the other family heads didn't look happy, but he didn't mind. You all have yourselves to blame for being too dumb. Mu Beihai cast a glance at Qin Duhuang. Finally, he was one step ahead of that old, sly fox. Sir, I'm also buying the properties on the street as well. Zhu Tianlin interrupted. The Zhu family couldn't afford to lag behind again. He failed to get the pets. If he failed to get the street, then he could just quit. And be done with everything. Since the idiotic Mu Beihai had put everything on the table, Qin Duhuang knew that solving the problem privately was no longer a choice. He had to join in the conversation. Sir, the Qin family is willing to trade with the most prosperous lakeside street from the uptown area. Lakeside Street was a very busy commercial street, and people would call it a street made of gold because an inch of land was valued as an inch of gold. Even a small store on that street could be sold at tens of millions, more than enough to buy half of the Taohuaxi Street. But Qin Duhuang was actually willing to buy Taohuaxi Street at the expense of the entire Lakeside Street. The onlookers eyed Qin Duhuang as if he were a lunatic. Of course, the onlookers didn't know that the Lakeside Street belonged to that old man before it was revealed this day. Before this day, no one could anticipate that the old man would go nuts and offer to trade the street of gold that everyone had heard of in exchange of the street that they were standing in. That was insane. Mu Beihai and the other family heads were equally stunned. Soon, they came to the understanding that the Qin family was not losing anything even by doing so. Money could never compare with power. Power was the true enabler for people to make money. Anyone who could buy off Su Ping's pets on sale, even if at the cost of all his or her money, could always make more money once said person became stronger. Sir, the Mu family will buy the street with the Chen group and the Xingshen group. Mu Beihai filed his teeth. The onlookers once again were completely astonished. Everyone in the base city had heard about the Chen and Xingshen groups. Both were super enterprises where even millionaires were considered mere salarymen. The two groups belonged to that old man? He was going to trade the street with the two groups? For a moment, the onlookers felt a burning sensation from their feet set on the ground. It was like they were standing on warm gold. Xie Jinshui didn't expect that the two of them would make such a generous offer, either. Zhu Tianlin and the other family heads joined the bidding as well. No one was willing to back down. All of them had realized that they were at a critical moment that could decide the success or failure of their families. That was a strategic move. If they flinched just because they didn't want to spend the money, they would spend the rest of their lives wallowing in regret. Xie Jinshui could not bear the sight of the family heads contending so fiercely. The point was, he was interested in that idea as well. He would rather save the street for himself than selling it to those families. He could move the government office there. Brother Xie, we've known each other for years. I will make a higher offer than any one of them can. Give me the street. Qin Juhuang began to play the friendship card. Mu Beihai sneered. To hell with knowing each other for years. Brother Xie and I once peed together. Brother Xie, let me have the street. I will promise you that I'll never say a word about certain matters. Xie Jinshui rolled his eyes at him. Listen to those words, so misleading. Brother Xie, you went to my grandson's 1-year-old birthday party. Do you really have the heart to see the Zhu family go down? Zhu Tianlin chimed in. Brother Xie, we became relatives after our kid's marriage. If you cannot make a decision, how about you go and ask your daughter? The Yi family head reminded Xie Jinshui. Xie Jinshui felt his head was buzzing. Anyway, we will talk about it later. Xie Jinshui waved his hand. We are speaking in a public space and all of you guys enjoy a high status in society. You're forgetting yourselves. Forget about forgetting myself. I can be a pervert if that's the price I have to pay, Mu Beihai claimed. Xie Jinshui. Qin Juhuang and the others cast a look of disbelief at Mu Beihai. Really? That far? It seemed that Mu Beihai was indeed pushed into a corner. Brother Xie, we must all be here and we must talk it out. Liu Tianzong said. He knew that the Liu family was currently the weakest of the 5 families after giving away half of their family assets. The other 4 families would have eaten up the Liu family without spitting out the bones if it weren't for the fact that he still had his powers and the cornerstones of the Liu family were still there. Liu Tianzong decided to drag everyone down with him, fully aware that he wasn't able to compete with the other 4 families. Buying the street was unlikely for Liu Tianzong at the moment. He just wanted to get one house there. Liu Tianzong's words made the others swear at him, but of course, they kept the swearing to themselves. Still, they didn't say anything against it because no one was confident to arrive at a positive result if they had to talk to Xie Jinshui privately and separately. Sure. Xie Jinshui nodded. Let's find a time tonight to talk about it. Good. They all nodded in agreement. The houses and buildings in the area had their owners, but the family heads didn't go to the owners, deciding to talk directly to Xie Jinshui instead. The reason was that Xie Jinshui was the owner of the street. He could take the buildings back as long as he decided to be shameless enough. Therefore, talking to Xie Jinshui would be the most straightforward solution. Mr. Su, sorry about that, Xie Jinshui said to Su Ping with a smile since the family heads were mollified. Su Ping smiled. I won't laugh at them. Xie Jinshui replied with a smile. He actually understood why Qin Juhuang and the other family heads were acting like that. It wasn't easy for any of them to run a big family. Goodbye, Mr. Su. Since no more pets were on sale, it was pointless to prolong his stay there. Su Ping nodded. Xie Jinshui walked away. The onlookers watched as the mayor left. When everyone made their way over this day, no one would have expected that a pet sale from that store would alert the mayor. The titled old men that arrived flying on those huge birds were all more powerful than they could have ever imagined. Qin Juhuang, Mu Beihai, and the other family heads had been maintaining a low-key status. They weren't even as well known as some third-rate stars. It was natural that the onlookers didn't recognize them. Of course, those that did know the family heads didn't count as common folk, either. They would have to have some sort of connection with titled battle pet warriors. "Mr. Su, I'm going to take off," Mu Beihai said. He had to go back and get ready. Su Ping nodded. Zhu Tianlin and Liu Qianzong also bid farewell to Su Ping one after another and left in a hurry. Qin Juhuang said to Su Ping, "Mr. Su, I won't waste time to say thank you again. I will remember your kindness even if you don't mind." Su Ping answered, "Mr. Qin, you flatter me. You're a famous battle pet warrior and I have so much to learn from you." "Mr. Su, you're the one flattering me." Then, Qin Juhuang left in a haste. He had to go back and discuss with the family about how to get the buildings that were near Su Ping's store. He had to get a good spot. After all, a person in a favorable position would gain special advantages. Chapter 480, Over 10 in Combat Strength. In an instant, Qin Juhuang and all the others had left, as quickly as they had arrived. The storm quieted down. The onlookers continued to sigh and exclaim with strong emotions, even after the big potatoes had left and the two pets were no longer there. Some of the onlookers began to develop some ideas. They couldn't compete against any of the tycoons that could offer to buy the properties with some enterprises or the Street of Gold, but they could buy the buildings in the surrounding streets. It was likely that the prices of the surrounding areas would go up once the tycoons moved to that street. The ripple effect would kick in. As such, some of the onlookers began to leave, to go back and discuss their grand plan. Su Ping went back inside since the two pets had been sold. Soon after, there was another noise coming from the sky. Again, an advanced flying battle. "Pet!" From the bird jumped a man. He hurried to the store and looked around. He quickly spotted Shu Yingxue, who was standing by the store's front. "Yingxue, how is it? Are the pets still here?" the man asked in haste. Shu Yingxue forced a bitter smile. Her captain had arrived too late. Everything was over. "Someone else bought the pets, the family head of the Qin family," Shu Yingxue explained. "The other family heads were here as well, but none of them got here in time." The man could not believe it. Sold out? The family head of the Qin family? Were the pets at the peak of the 9th rank? The man asked. Of course. Why else would the family heads come here in person? You weren't here to see them contending against each other. Shu Yingxue found saying those words a hard job. She wasn't in a good mood. She would have grabbed the chance herself if she were any more powerful. She didn't have to think hard to know how much stronger she would become. If she were at the 8th rank, with a pet like that, she could crush a lot of titled battle pet warriors. A once-in-a-blue-moon chance had just slipped away right in front of her. The man found it hard to accept. The realization that he had missed the chance pained his heart. What was the price? He would feel better if the price was so high that he could not afford it. He thought that the family heads would certainly enter a bidding war. Shu Yingxue cast him a look of pity. 60 million, said Shu Yingxue with a straight face. The afternoon arrived. Su Ping was ready to visit the cultivation site after all the customers left. Before he did, Su Ping told Tang Ruyan to take Zhong Lingtong to where she lived, to prevent them from freaking them out when he teleported back. He didn't want his secret to be revealed. Once again, Su Ping was being all mysterious as he trained pets. Tang Ruyan rolled her eyes at him. Anyway, she could not complain. Things were better for her at the moment. He would throw her into the scroll before, but he no longer restricted her personal freedom. She had nowhere else to go, so she decided to take the time and show Zhong Lingtong around the Longjiang base city. Zhong Lingtong agreed happily. She was curious about the base city that Su Ping was from. Su Ping closed the door after they left. Together with Joanna and the pets for professional training, they set off to the demigod burial. Joanna had been eager to return to the demigod burial, just like Su Ping. Joanna couldn't go back to the demigod burial when he was away. She was worried about her subordinates and that they would go into fits of panic. After all, her return would be regular on previous occasions, but she had taken a bit longer this time. Soon, a god warrior showed up and fetched them from the island where they had landed on randomly, then he took them to Joanna's castle. Her subordinates were more than thrilled to see Her Royal Highness return. Su Ping didn't send Joanna to start working right away, he told her to comfort her subordinates first. After everyone calmed down, Su Ping gave the pets for professional training to Joanna. Same as before, she took the pets to somewhere dangerous while he could stay in the castle and constantly bring the pets back to life. Taking advantage of his time there, Su Ping decided to go through more rounds of heaven's testing. Also, he could go to see the celestial gods with whom he had trained last time. He had some questions for them. On the mountain, Su Ping summoned the dark dragon hound, the inferno dragon, and the little skeleton. Before he told the little skeleton to practice its saber play with a celestial god, he first tried the enlightening guide on the little skeleton. It went quite well. Soon after, the talent of the little skeleton went from not applicable to elementary agility talent. The explanation was: enhance the overall speed 1-fold, valid for 1 minute, and the cool-off period was 5 hours. The word overall spoke volumes. It didn't just mean the speed at which the little skeleton attacked. It also applied to the speed of energy flows and the aging process. Of course, speeding up the aging process was not a positive effect, but the consequences were bearable since it was just 1 minute. The speed increase for energy flow was great. For example, if the little skeleton had to use 5 seconds to prepare for skill, the preparation time would be shortened to 2.5 seconds with the elementary agility talent. That talent would be very useful, whether in traveling, dining, or anything else. Just as he had expected, the little skeleton's combat strength was increased to 19.9. That 0.1 gap was another matter. Why would the system have to leave that decimal point? To get past the last 0.1 had to be difficult, or else the little skeleton's combat strength would not be stuck there. What a stupid way of scoring. Su Ping heaved a sigh but didn't bother the system about it. The little skeleton should be equal to a legendary battle pet warrior at the peak of the ocean state at the moment. The 0.1 points would be the critical divide to let the little skeleton reach the void state. But the little skeleton is just at the 7th rank. This is not bad, Su Ping comforted himself. The little skeleton's aptitude rating had climbed back to above average. There had been some ups and downs. Su Ping wondered what the grading above the first rate was. Would there be another ranking list? He shook his head. It was of no use to worry about this. Su Ping told the enlightened little skeleton to go and learn saber moves with Uncle Celestial God. Then Su Ping enlightened the Dark Dragon Hound and the Inferno Dragon as well. Enlightening, enhancement, and rule of thunder. Su Ping used all of his training skills on his battle pets. He was never stingy in that regard. The Inferno Dragon had also picked up some skills of the Thunder family. Even the Purple Python did, too. To Su Ping's delight, he realized that the Inferno Dragon's combat strength had reached 10, finally. It was at 10.5 right then. Indeed, once the score surpassed the threshold, there would be a small but drastic increase. The Inferno Dragon was also at the 7th rank. It had become a mature dragon. It was a 7th rank dragon that was comparable to a beast king with above average aptitude. Su Ping thought it was good enough. The Purple Python's combat strength was still lingering at 9.9 and its rank was the 6th. After all, the Purple Python's bloodline was of the 6th rank. The Purple Python would be unable to climb up in rank without evolving. The extra astral powers that the Purple Python absorbed would have to be expelled since they couldn't be contained in its body. After the enlightening, Su Ping took his pets to the heavens test. The notice Joanna had made public would always be valid. They heard from the god warriors in the temple castle that some could not wait any longer and had already taken the test. But still, a few were waiting. Su Ping felt sorry that he missed those chances. He decided to really sponge off from the rest of them. Soon, the heavens test began. The mountain that had been quiet for a long time was bathed in thunder and lightning again. The huge thunderclouds once again appeared one after another. The powerful ones who lived in nearby cities were alerted. Some of the old-time residents in the cities had become used to this by then. They would comfort the newcomers and said that there was no need for making a mountain out of a molehill and that they would see that phenomenon again as long as they stayed there long enough.